What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch back here with another top 10 teams in the NFL. This time after week number 8 of the 2019 NFL season, going into week number 9. This is my personal rankings, ranking the top 10 teams, the elite teams in the NFL from number 10 to number 1. We are exactly halfway through the NFL season. We are entering the second half of this NFL season, which means this is going to be the time that the NFL determines who the upper echelon contenders are, who's going to be having the home field advantage in the AFC, in the NFC, who's winning these divisions, who's gaining these wild card spots. So this top 10 is basically the elite teams that I rather see in the playoffs or I feel right now, and then going down the road of the next couple of weeks are taking shape into the teams that I feel are the most talented and are playing the best football going into the month of November. So guys, make sure that if you haven't already, subscribe to the Bottom Line View, Gronk spike the like button, and let me know in the comments section below. What do you guys think of my top 10? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you disagree? Do you agree? Let me know. Give me your top 10 in the comment section below. Let's start off my top 10 with a team that was in the top 10 a lot early this season, but they escaped the top 10 with some poor play. They're back in the top 10. That is the reigning NFC champions, the LA Rams. The LA Rams are a football team that they went through a rough stretch. They were trying to figure out what their identity is, specifically on the defensive side of the football. They made a couple of deals, a couple of trades before this trade deadline that I feel has solidified what they want to do defensively, and this is why I have confidence going into the second half of the season with a great coaching staff, Sean McVay, Wade Phillips on both sides of the ball, that they will be able to figure it out. That they can game plan every week differently for the opponent that they're playing. And specifically, Wade Phillips now has a secondary that I feel plays to his strength, which is what he wants to do, is be creative up front, send a lot of different looks and blitzes and pressures at the quarterback while maintaining man coverage behind it, being able to switch it up with zone and man. But I really feel like the Rams, they went really far into the zone direction early this season. They were getting carved up by good quarterbacks down the field, and they made that trade with Jalen Ramsey. They traded away Aqib Talib, who's now injured, but he's on the Dolphins. They traded away Marcus Peters, who was not playing well in man-to-man and was primarily only a zone corner. And now they've completely flipped their corner depth chart with Troy Hill, Jalen Ramsey, of course, and then Roby Coleman in the slot. This allows them to play a lot more aggressive defensively, a lot more of the style of man-to-man that we're accustomed to seeing from a guy like Wade Phillips. So the Rams, I'm just very comfortable in putting them on this list because I feel like they are going into November playing their best football, winning 2 straight, not against the best competition these last 2 games, but they've won them nonetheless. They've pretty much dominated. And when looking on the offensive side of the football, they have an elite receiver in Cooper Kupp, really one of the best receiving groups in the NFL. Jared Goff is playing very good football right now, and despite not having a very good running game, Sean McVay is finding other creative ways to score points. So I like the Rams right now. I don't love them as a playoff team. We'll have to see how they play versus the Seahawks and the 49ers down the road of this season. But I do like them right now, and I think they're playing their best football at this moment. So, at number 10, the LA Rams. At number 9, another team that was on the list early in the season after a 3-0 start. They pretty much went 3-3. They lost 3 in a row. And now they're back on the list. The Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are back on the list for pretty much one reason, and one reason only. It's talent. The Dallas Cowboys are just an extremely talented football team. Coming into the season, I ranked them as the second most talented roster in the NFL, and I still do believe that they have a very talented roster that's capable of at least winning a game in the playoffs. When I look at this list, and when I'm thinking about making this top 10, I'm not just thinking about how these teams are playing right now, what their record is. That doesn't matter as much. It does matter as well. It's about 50-50. It matters as well what the potential of these teams are down the road. And to me, the Dallas Cowboys are a team that can put together a run in the NFC because of their talent. And to me, showcasing that dominance versus Philadelphia was a huge step in getting back on this list because it showed me that they still have that capability up front on their offensive line to dominate. Their defense has the capability to dominate. And I think this Michael Bennett move was one of the sneaky best in-season acquisitions you're going to see all year. And we're going to be talking about how important Michael Bennett is to this team going forward, because Michael Bennett did not fit perfectly into what the Patriots want to do from a scheme perspective. Still a good player. Do not underestimate what Michael Bennett can bring to the table at this point. Still a very good player. And the Dallas Cowboys were sort of missing one of those interior or even edge presence in terms of getting after the quarterback. Now you add Michael Bennett, who even if he just plays in pass rushing situations, is going to instantly upgrade this defensive line and pass rush, which has a trickle effect on the rest of the defense. So to me, the Cowboys offensively, they're first on third down. They're playing really good football on third down. They're getting healthier on the offensive line, which is going to help them. They're getting healthier at wide receiver. And I feel like this team, when they're fully 100%, very talented, not as well head coached or coached in general, but I do feel like that talent just takes them over, and I do ultimately see them probably being the team in the NFC East to represent, although I will say the Eagles are starting to turn it on as well, but the Cowboys seem to have their number. So I like the Cowboys right now. I like them as a team that can win this NFC East. At number 8, the Indianapolis Colts. To me, the Indianapolis Colts are the best team in the AFC South. They've proven it week after week after week. Frank Reich is one of the top 5 head coaches in the game, in my opinion. Jacoby Brissett is playing solid football, made one of the most miraculous plays I've seen this season, escaping from Von Miller and hitting T.Y. Hilton on the sideline, and has shown that he can make those plays with consistency. He only needs to make 3 or 4 of those type of throws a game, but he's been able to do that. Their running game is solid, their offensive line is obviously elite, and T.Y. Hilton is elite in his own right. So they have the pieces to put together an offense that can be dangerous and difficult to stop depending on the matchup. Defensively, they're getting a lot better, specifically in their pass rush. It's been a lot better. Run defense has been pretty solid as well. Just adding a guy like Darius Leonard has been a huge addition. Their defensive backs, their secondary isn't the greatest, but it gets it done, and they're coached up very well on that side of the ball. I just like their coaching. I like that Brissett doesn't turn the ball over. I like that they're in every game that they play, and they've had some pretty impressive wins this season versus the Chiefs, versus the Texans, and I think they do have the upper hand on the Texans. I do think they have their number, and I do think they are the best team in this division, which allows me to place them here at number 8. At number 7, the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are sort of staying within that 4 to 7 range, maybe 4 to 8 range on my list. The Vikings are a team that I really expected to absolutely dominate and destroy the Washington Redskins, and because they did not do that, I had to move them down on the list. Because a team like the Vikings, if they want to say or be put in that elite conversation, they need to dominate teams that just aren't on their level. And the Redskins are not on their level. They should have dominated that football game. And statistically, they did dominate that game. But for whatever reason, the score didn't indicate that. So Kirk Cousins playing good football. Offensive line's been a lot better, specifically in the run game. Dalvin Cook is, to me, one of the top 3 running backs in the league right now, alongside McCaffrey and Barkley. And from a defensive standpoint, they are very solid. They don't give up a a lot of big plays. They make you earn it. Their pass rush is good, and they're very good at home. I think what I want to see from the second half of this season is how the Vikings do perform on the road. That's very important to me, specifically because I believe that they will be a wild card team going into the playoffs. So the Vikings, they have as much talent as anybody. I just want to see them continue to improve, and I want to see that road record rise and that road performance rise. Also, I wouldn't mind them playing better in prime time as well. I don't know if that's a Kirk Cousins thing or just a Vikings thing in general, but it could definitely be better. I don't know what it is, but it just seems like they don't play the greatest in prime time. At number 6, I have the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens really impressed me with their ability to go into Seattle and dominate the Seahawks. Although this was a couple weeks ago now, Lamar Jackson, he showed something that I haven't seen from him in his NFL career yet. And that was just the pure determination to win a football game. He was just like, hey, Ravens, get on my back. I'm going to win this football game no matter what they do. I'm going to win this game. Whether that's running, passing, on my arm, on my legs, I'm going to win the game. And to me, that took my respect of Lamar Jackson from here past the level of the screen, because I was already a huge Lamar Jackson guy, as you guys know if you follow this channel, from the draft into this season. I had a lot of promise and high hopes for Lamar, and he has shown that not only is he talented, not only is he dynamic, but he also is this competitor, leader that a lot of people said he wasn't. So that's something that, to me, big ups. Defensively, they're getting a little scary, because they have that secondary now, adding Peters, getting a player like Jimmy Smith back. They're going to be able to do a lot of different things with their secondary, kind of the way that the Patriots do in terms of playing a lot more aggressive man coverages. That allows them to blitz a little bit more, because we know the big problem has been pass rush for them. So that will open up pass rushing, and we saw that versus Seattle. So I think the Ravens right now, they are right there toe-to-toe with the Kansas City Chiefs for the second best team in the AFC. Speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, I have them at number 5. The biggest reason I've moved the Chiefs up this highly is, okay, there's 2 reasons. I have really liked what I've seen from the defense. I think the defense has vastly improved and is actually playing a little bit motivated, a little bit angry, a little bit with a chip on its shoulder since Mahomes has gone down. And I'm just hopeful that that continues when Mahomes is back on the field. And I'm hopeful that Spagnuolo actually continues his aggressive play calling. They're blitzing more. They're getting after the quarterback more. They're playing better versus the run because they're being more aggressive in their run fits. And I just believe that the Chiefs are playing a more aggressive brand of defense, which is allowing them to just play better in general, because they were playing too soft. They were playing very lackadaisical. They were just basically making you earn it without making you earn it, so to speak. And their red zone defense wasn't very good. They were very bad versus the run. That area has improved somewhat, and definitely their pass rush has gotten a lot better, even without Frank Clark, even without Chris Jones. So that, to me, that's very promising if you're a Chiefs fan, because if they can at least be competent on that side of the ball, they're definitely going to be contender in this conference. And then Matt Moore and what Andy Reid has done with Matt Moore. Matt Moore has looked solid. They really took the Packers to the very end of the game, and they pushed a very good team, talented Packers team. So that is a really good thing if you're a Chiefs fan. Maybe they match up well with the Packers as opposed to some of these other teams that they've lost to. But regardless, I think that the Chiefs have really proven that even without Mahomes, they're an extremely talented team, and they're a team that you do not want to take lightly. And if they get Mahomes back with Watkins there, Hill there, Kelsey there, they have all the weapons to make you pay offensively. At number 4, the Green Bay Packers. The Packers have actually kind of been not as impressive as I would have hoped. I know that they've still been missing Devontae Adams, and that's a key piece to their offense, but it's more about their defense. Their defense has really let me down over the past couple of weeks. I expected the Packers defense to be a pretty good unit this year, and at moments they have shown that they can be that. But just like the Chiefs early this season, it seems like they haven't been able to adjust to what has been beating them. And that's mostly been the rushing attack of other teams, and really they can't seem to get teams off of the field consistently enough. And they're not making enough big plays. I feel like they're not aggressive enough, and I do feel like they need to just trust that they do have Aaron Rodgers on that side of the ball, that they do have a quarterback that's going to win you games pretty much by himself at this point, and their offense is starting to roll to the point where they can become a little bit more creative, and I'd like to see Pettine do some different things here. It also seems like teams are starting to figure out where their weaknesses are in their coverages, in the matchups that they're starting to attack. It really does feel like the Packers are just playing at a different level, a much lower level than they were early this season on defense. So I want to see that defense get better, improve as this second half of the season gets underway. If they can do that, then I'll put them back in that elite NFC conversation. I think they are just a tier below the top two teams in the NFC as of now, though. The New Orleans Saints at number 3. You could definitely argue that the Saints are number 2 or even number 1. They dominated once again this past week versus the Cardinals. It was kind of close early in that game, but the Saints once again defensively looking very strong. They have one of the top 5 defenses in the game right now, mostly due to their pass rush and their dominant defensive line that does not give up much on the ground, or they're just dominating offensive lines, which is allowing them to put pressure on the quarterback. Marcus Lattimore is playing very well. Some of the guys in the secondary, Williams, those guys are upping their game. Offensively, they got Drew Brees back. Drew Brees did not look very rusty at all. He threw a lot of passes to the running back, which was to be expected. Latavius Murray is filling in well for Alvin Kamara. Michael Thomas is playing like maybe the best receiver in the game right now. The Saints just seem to be rolling. Sean Payton is coaching better than just about anybody right now. And they're a very well-balanced team on both sides of the ball. And they're really tough to handle because the Saints in the past were a very finesse team, but this team seems to have a good mix of finesse and a little bit of grit and toughness. So I like to see that from a Saints team, that they're able to play at home and dominate, but also it seems like they're able to go on the road in tough places and also dominate in the same fashion, like in Chicago or in Seattle. At number 2, the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers defensively have been dominant. I cannot say any more about what they have done. Nick Bosa, he's getting all the headlines, but deservedly so. He's playing out of his mind. DeForest Buckner is unreal. Dee Ford has really paid off in that facet. Richard Sherman is leading in the back end and playing well. And it just feels like this team is extremely fast. They know what they're supposed to do in every given situation. They're just extremely well coached, and their players are very fast, which allows them in mix to be very fast on the field. Their offense might be the fastest in the league with Marquise Goodwin and Dante Pettis and adding Emmanuel Sanders and Breida and Coleman and Kittle. I mean, they are an explosive offense, and they are also a weird mix, a nice mix of power and speed, because those backs are able to make big plays any given carry in Coleman and Breida, but you mix in the power element that they give you, and it just seems like on both sides of the ball, offensive line, defensive line, they are dominating and bullying people. So Jimmy Garoppolo, I say it every week, but he hasn't really had to do anything. He is still playing solid game-winning football, but he hasn't really had to push the limit yet, and that's what's fascinating to me. Emmanuel Sanders has continued to grow in this offense, which I like. Kittle is the best tight end in the game. The defensive line is out of this world crazy right now. And like I said, the speed is giving a lot of people issues. It's almost reminding me a little bit of the Seahawks of a few years ago. And at number 1, it's still the Patriots. Until they are beaten, until you beat the champ, they are not going to move from this number 1 spot. The Patriots are just playing ridiculous on the defensive side of the ball. These top 2 teams have similar identities. Their defenses are going to dominate you. And if you're not mentally, physically prepared to play against those defenses, you are going to lose. Offensively, they play very good complementary football to how dominant their defenses are playing. And they have excellent coaching. So the Patriots and the 49ers are playing very much the same. And even the Saints in that same conversation. The Patriots, to me, though, adding Mohamed Sanu was a very nice move for them. I feel like he's a great fit for their offense. Edelman's playing fantastic, kind of sliding under the radar. James White is getting more and more involved in the offense as of late, in the screen game, in the receiving game. Michelle, the run game is hopefully going to get it going once Wynn comes back and Mason comes back. And the offensive line's been dealing with injuries, but has been good enough to win games. I think people are looking at the Patriots like, yeah, the defense is playing phenomenal, but they're playing nobody. And the offense, they're a little bit struggling right now. But people are not really recognizing that the Patriots' offense is going to be getting healthier and healthier as the weeks are going on. That's going to allow them to more chemistry, more time together, more McDaniels, Brady magic. They're going to be a very good offense once we get into the playoffs. And this defense is straight up historic right now. So I want to see how they play versus Baltimore. I think it's going to be very telling. It's going to be on the road where they struggled last year. It's going to be versus their best opponent yet, in my opinion. And I'm intrigued to see how it goes. But I do believe that the Patriots are straight up playing phenomenal complementary football. And it's almost like they haven't hit their peak yet, which is scary. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, Gronk spike the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. It's been Mitch. These are my top 10 teams after Week 8. Peace out.